Watch this. This is a scan of a lost city in the Amazon rainforest. And this is how it might have actually looked like. Until recently, scientists thought that the Amazon could never support cities. Not because it is dangerous. Snakes, jaguars, fevers, we humans can survive that. But infertile soil, constant floods, and a thick jungle made cities just seem impossible. But then we started to find these patterns, and these stripes, and these canals. What you are looking at is the infrastructure of a lost civilization. A civilization we didn't think could exist, hidden under those trees. But how do you even engineer a city in a rainforest? As you'll see, they had many problems, but they solved them all, and they thrived. And we are just now starting to discover their cities. This is the story of the lost cities of the Amazon. Now we know that the Amazon hosted large settlements, but we didn't always think that. This is how it all started. One of the first Europeans to travel deep in the Amazon, Gaspar de Carvajal, wrote down crazy stories about it.
Populated land, very large towns, many torches and lights, a town that is more than 2 leagues long, no more than half a league from another town.
Interesting. But here's the problem. Later explorations saw nothing of that. Nothing, zero, nada, nichts. The Amazon was empty like a bottle of vodka in a student's party. A bit fuller. No cities, no pyramids, no civilization. Did he lie? Historians assumed he was exaggerating, maybe to get funding for further expeditions. Which is the equivalent of exaggerating your CV. Come on, everybody does that. Until recently, most archaeologists didn't believe the Amazon could support complex societies. And they had good reasons to think that. Every expedition that went looking for those cities came back empty-handed. If they ever came back at all.
Here we are at Dead Horse Camp. You need have no fear of any failure.
He never came back from the forest. He died and nobody really knows what happened to him. And for decades, stories like this seem to prove that the Amazon was indeed uninhabitable. But then we started to find things that broke this belief. First, we've discovered those weird patterns, which are clearly man-made, and we see them all across the Amazon. Second, we found this black soil, which is extremely fertile. The locals call it terra preta, and it's far more fertile than any neighboring soil. So fertile that even today it's still used by the locals. And it didn't form naturally, because it almost always contains massive amount of pottery. Could ancient Amazonian people have found a way to create a super soil? Yes, and we'll get to the how in a sec. For now, what matters is that those discoveries launched a new science, the study of the ancient Amazonian societies. And here's what we discovered until now. First, we discovered those stripes. Subtle change in ground height. What are those strange elevation stripes?
Aliens!
No. Those stripes are raised platforms, and they are essential to solve the water problems of the Amazon. Too little water and too much water. The year is split into 2 seasons, the dry season and the wet season. In the dry season, crops, you can guess, dry out. And the wet season is wet. Like really wet.
The rainy season is biblical in proportion. Great warm drops the size of $50 begin to fall in the river valleys. Then the sky rips open and solid sheets of water tear into the earth.
The river was swelling, and where I had once been standing on solid earth, I was now in knee-deep water.
Those rains create floods, which can destroy both your house and your crops. Now, if you build your crops on raised platforms, you solved both the drying and the flooding problem at the same time. In the wet season, the water drains into the lower areas, keeping the crops above the water level. In the dry season, those lower areas retain the water, giving the crops a steady water supply. We can see such raised fields all across the Amazon. But how effective is this kind of system actually? The archaeologist Clark Erickson demonstrated raised field farming in the Andes. They managed to multiply the potato yield by 4. 4 times more potatoes. Wow! So the Amazonian societies built their crops on elevated platforms. Which is awesome for us because those platforms are still there today, so we can estimate how their cities looked like. A town was about 0.6 square kilometers and was inhabited by 2.5 to 5,000 people, giving a mean residential density of more than 6,000 people per square kilometer. More than Berlin or Chicago. Though, to be fair, the area and population are far smaller than in modern cities, so the results are skewed. Some towns were surrounded by a ring ditch, which probably supported the defensive fence. Was this for protection against jaguars or against other people? We really don't know. Researchers are uncertain about the total population, but estimates start at 500,000 people and go up to 20 million people living inside the Amazon. Up to 20 million people. You could never sustain such a large population without agriculture. Which brings us to engineering feat number 2, the soil. The biggest rainforest on the Earth actually has surprisingly bad soil. It's completely unsuitable for agriculture. What? How can a forest have a bad soil? What are the trees doing? The main problem of normal Amazon soil is its low nutrient holding capacity. It means that key nutrients can't stick to the soil and sink down, for example through rain. Trees in the Amazon can live with it. It's a closed ecosystem, and they simply consume their nutrients right away, before they're lost to the environment. Basically, trees in the Amazon are living paycheck to paycheck, fighting for nutrients the moment they reach the soil. It can work for trees, but field crops can't be grown on that soil without external inputs, like fertilizers. So it's a problem, and it's a problem that's relevant for me and you also today. Estimates suggest that up to a third of the applied nitrogen fertilizer is lost to the environment. If we can increase the nutrient retention in soil, we could potentially save millions of tons of fertilizer each year. The Amazonian people solved the nutrient retention problem by creating a super soil called Terra Preta. They created it by adding charcoal and organic waste to the soil. Charcoal, which can be produced by heating wood with limited oxygen, adds stable carbon to the soil and increases its nutrient holding capacity. Ancient Amazonian people mixed charcoal into the soil, and many local communities still do it. Just so you'll have an idea for what a change it makes. One research study found that adding charcoal to the soil reduced nitrogen fertilizer consumption by 43%, which is impressive as fuck. If we can create charcoal efficiently and at scale, it could really revolutionize agriculture. There's a lot to learn from ancient wisdom. Alright, now let's talk about connections. Were those settlements isolated or part of a connected network? At first, you'd think no, because navigating the Amazon is quite inconvenient.
We got into the forest. At first the path was tolerable. Soon, however, it was a mere track a few inches wide, winding among thorny creepers and over deep beds of decaying leaves. The hooked spines of the climbing palms would catch in my shirt sleeves and oblige me either to halt and deliberately unhook myself or leave a portion of my unlucky garment behind. The Indians were all naked, and I have no doubt looked upon me as a good illustration of the uselessness and bad consequences of wearing clothes upon a forest journey.
To move efficiently in the Amazon, you need to build roads. And roads they built. Archaeologists discovered an elaborate network of roads connecting dozens of settlements. Some settlements had only a few connections, while others had many, suggesting they were some kind of a regional hub. Okay, so we discovered water, food, and travel. Now let's speed it up, baby. Most of the discoveries you saw were detected from groundwork, which takes a lot of time. And in this channel, we don't like things to take a lot of time. Festina lente. Work fast with patience. Fast would be to look at the Amazon from the sky, but we just can't do it with a camera. The vegetation is so dense that light barely reaches the surface.
Under the canopy, it's so dark. Because the trees are so high and dense, the sun just isn't getting through. It gets completely dark by 3 to 4 p.m.
Okay, so how can we find the remains of the lost cities? Well, say hi to LiDAR. And now the age of discovery really begins. LiDAR is a sensor that can create a 3D map of objects. For engineers, it's used extensively in self-driving vehicles to build a 3D map of the street. For archaeologists, it's one of the best tools we have to explore the Earth. And the best thing about it? It can penetrate the canopy and create a 3D map of the ground, revealing elevated platforms in stunning detail. Mind-blowing. And here's how it might have looked like back then. I recreated those cities using AI, and props to the AI, because this recreation is beautiful. You can actually see the centers, platforms, roads, channels, massive landscape engineering. LiDAR discoveries in the Amazon and elsewhere are happening right now, revealing so much about places we thought we already know. And I think it's amazing. 500 years ago, Carvajal wrote about huge settlements along the Amazon River. Now we know there might have been some truth to what he said. Okay, but wait a sec. Where are those people? How can Amazon societies, probably millions of people, completely vanish, leaving almost no trace?
Aliens!
No. It's actually a really sad story. After contact with Europeans, they died from diseases in huge numbers, like much of the New World. Entire cities were wiped out, and within a few generations, most of their traces were gone. Try to think about it for a sec. Everybody's sick, everybody dies. Everybody. Your best friend, your parents, your school teacher, that famous person you look up to. All people you know are sick and die within 50 years. Your entire society collapses. Think about how horrible this entire situation is. Their cities were built mostly from wood, so over time they collapsed and were taken back by the forest. All we're left with is the platforms, their pottery, and the soil. We have no stories and no writing from them, but at least the archaeology can tell us how they lived. When we think of archaeology, we picture someone caressing a rock with a brush, looking for broken pottery. But this is not true. Archaeology is actually one of the sciences where you actually get to explore the world. Archaeologists are modern explorers, which makes archaeology one of the coolest jobs in the world. And I think it's really exciting. Keep exploring, keep dreaming, keep working for your dreams. My dream is to run engineering research through YouTube and drive the world forward. If people can invest millions of dollars in their videos, we can do the same thing for science. Think about funding another lighter expedition to the Amazon to discover even more settlements. Subscribe and join the journey, and I give you my word that in the future, me and you will go to the Amazon to launch such an expedition. It's gonna be awesome. Love you. See you.